The camera was a white plastic dome the size of a shot glass, and when I first saw it on my nightstand, I told myself it was a smoke detector. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday, he said it was for safety. I know how this sounds. I was 43, not 93. I'd been married to Michael for 9 years, stepfather to my daughter for 6. He was an insurance adjuster who drove a silver Honda CR-V and mowed the lawn every Saturday at 7:14 a.m. He'd never once raised his voice at me, not even when I'd burned the lasagna for his birthday party in 2019. So when he sat me down in the kitchen and told me he was installing a camera in my bedroom because there had been a prowler 3 blocks over, I said okay. And then I went to Target and bought a floor lamp with a heavier base, because I was an idiot who thought a lamp would help. The footage was saved to my phone because he'd connected the camera to the household Wi-Fi, and the app was called Safe Home, and I had the password. I didn't know I had the password until the night I opened the app because the camera had started making a soft whirring sound at 3:15 a.m., and I couldn't sleep through it. I opened the app and the screen showed my closet door and my dresser and the edge of my pillow. The timeline had saved every motion-triggered clip for the past 7 days. I scrolled past myself getting dressed, past myself sleeping, past Michael coming in to get a tie at 7:45 a.m. on Monday. The clip from Tuesday night at 11:03 p.m. showed Michael walking into the bedroom when I wasn't there. He stood in front of the nightstand, looked directly at the camera, and turned it 2 degrees to the left. He stepped back, checked something on his phone, then turned it 1 degree to the right. He pulled his glasses from his shirt pocket, wiped them, and adjusted the camera again. His hands did it the way you adjust a rearview mirror. Patient. Methodical. Precise. That's when I put the phone in my pocket and walked back to the dining room where my mother was holding a serving spoon over the mashed potatoes and my aunt was opening a second bottle of wine. The dinner had been my idea. Tuesday night, family dinner, all the usual people. My mother, Susan, 71, retired high school math teacher who still used the word groovy unironically. My Aunt Diane, 68, who lived 2 streets over and called everything darling while absolutely not meaning it. My cousin Rachel, 34, cop, whose badge lived on her bedside table in its leather case like a retired pet. Michael, 51, insurance adjuster, husband, stepfather, camera installer. My daughter Emily, 15, upstairs with headphones on, which was the only rule she'd ever broken in her life, refusing to come down for family dinner on a Tuesday because she had a history test the next day. I let her. The table had roast chicken and green beans and the mashed potatoes my mother brought, and Michael had opened the wine he always opened, a $14 Pinot Noir from the grocery store that tasted like berries and regret. We were 23 minutes into the meal. My mother was telling a story about a student from 1982. My aunt was pushing her beans around her plate. Michael was cutting his chicken into small, even pieces the way he always did, the way I used to think was meticulous, but now understood was practiced. I had my phone in my pocket. The app was still open. I didn't know what I was going to do until I did it, which is the story of every real thing I've ever done in my life. Hey, I said. I want to show you something. My mother looked up. Diane looked up. Michael looked up. I stood and walked to the TV in the corner of the dining room. It was an old Samsung, the one we'd bought when Emily was 8, and I remembered Michael telling me he could screen mirror his phone to it for the kids to watch movies. I remembered him showing me how. I didn't know until I found a cord in the drawer. My charging cord. I plugged my phone into the TV. The screen was black for 3 seconds. Then it showed the footage. Tuesday night. 11:03 p.m. Michael, in his blue button-down, the one I'd ironed for him on Monday. Michael, standing in front of the nightstand, adjusting the camera. 1 degree. 2 degrees. 3. Wiping his glasses. That little cough he does when he's concentrating. The TV was 60 inches. The image was high enough resolution that you could see the hair on his knuckles. My mother dropped her fork. It hit the plate, and then the floor, and the sound was the loudest thing I had ever heard in that house. My aunt had her phone out before I could blink. 911, she said, and I heard her voice from very far away. Michael reached for the remote on the table. He was fast, I'll give him that. His hand closed around the plastic 2 seconds after the clip started. He was already halfway out of his chair, reaching for the TV, When Rachel stood up, she didn't say anything. She didn't have to. She reached into the pocket of her jeans and pulled out the badge. Gold. Rectangular. Small in her hand, but big enough. Michael stopped. His hand opened. The remote clattered onto the table. The footage kept playing on the TV. Michael adjusting the camera. Wiping his glasses. Michael, standing in my bedroom in the middle of the night. The dinner was cold. The silence was worse. Justice was all the things that came after. I sat down and picked up my fork. The chicken was the same temperature it had been 2 minutes ago, which is to say, barely warm. I put a bite in my mouth and chewed. I watched Michael's face on the TV, freeze-framed on his final adjustment, and I thought about the first time he'd ever looked at me that way. Like I was something he could arrange. My mother's voice cut through. Michael. She said it like his name was all the story she needed. He opened his mouth. The word honey came out. It was the wrong thing to say. What the hell is that? My mother asked. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the TV. Michael's hand was still frozen in the air where the remote had been. I can explain. Rachel stepped forward. She didn't put the badge away. She held it at her side like she was waiting for something. Explain what exactly? I said. I was chewing. I swallowed. Explain the camera in my bedroom. Explain why you adjusted it at 11 o'clock at night when I wasn't there. My Aunt Diane had her phone pressed to her ear. I could hear the operator's voice on the other end, tinny and distant. Yes, Diane said, yes, we need someone to come out here. Michael's eyes went to the phone, then to the TV, then to Rachel's badge, then to me. Diana, he said. Put yourself in my position. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It came out of me like something I'd been holding in my chest for days. Your position, I said. Your position is standing in my bedroom in the dark adjusting a camera you told me was for safety. You don't understand, he said. Then explain it to me. Explain it to my mother. Explain it to my aunt. Explain it to Rachel, who is currently holding a badge in your dining room. He didn't say anything. I picked up the remote from where it had fallen. I clicked the TV off. The screen went black. The silence was worse than the footage. Enough is enough, I said. The words felt thin in my mouth. They didn't sound like me. They sounded like something from a movie. But the moment I said them, I felt the shape of them in my throat and I knew they were true. The police came 20 minutes later. 2 officers. A man and a woman. Rachel talked to them quietly in the kitchen while the rest of us sat at the table. My mother had stopped crying. Diane had poured herself another glass of wine and was drinking it like it was water. Michael was sitting in his chair with his hands on the table, palms down, like he was waiting for something. The officers came back into the dining room. The woman spoke first. Ma'am, we're going to need to see the footage. I handed her my phone. I'd already opened the app. I showed her the clip. She watched it once. She watched it twice. She looked at her partner. We need to ask you some questions, she said. I nodded. I followed them into the living room. I sat on the couch and told them everything I knew. The camera. The installation. The password I didn't know I had. The 3:15 a.m. whirring sound. The footage. The dinner. The remote. The badge. When I was done, the woman asked, did you give him permission to install a camera in your bedroom? He said it was for safety, I said. A prowler. 3 blocks over. That's not what I asked. I looked at her. She was younger than me. Maybe 32. She had kind eyes but a flat mouth. I knew that look. I'd used it myself in negotiations. She was telling me something without saying it. No, I said. I never gave him permission. Did he ask for your permission? He asked me if it was okay. I said okay. That's not the same thing, she said. I knew that. I'd always known that. I just hadn't let myself think about it. She asked more questions. When did he install the camera? How long had it been there? Did I feel unsafe? Did I want to press charges? I didn't answer that last one. Not yet. I said I needed to think. She nodded like she understood. When I came back to the dining room, Michael was gone. The officers had taken him into the kitchen. I could hear his voice through the wall. Low. Steady. The voice of a man who had spent his life explaining things away. My mother was still at the table. She was holding her wine glass, staring at the empty spot where Michael's plate had been. Diane was on her second glass. Rachel was leaning against the wall. Where is he? I said. He asked to speak with them privately, Rachel said. I said he could. You should have been there. I'm off duty, she said. Then she paused. You're right. I should have been there. I sat down. The chicken was cold. The green beans were cold. The potatoes were cold. Everything was cold except the wine, and I didn't want wine. I thought about the first time Michael had said he loved me. It was in a parking lot. A grocery store parking lot. He'd just bought me a coffee, and he said it while I was putting my seatbelt on. I didn't say it back. I waited a week. Then I said it. I said it because I thought I loved him. I said it because he was kind and he was stable and he looked at me like I was something he'd been looking for. But the night before the wedding, I had a thought. I thought, I don't know who this man is. I thought it, and then I buried it under all the other thoughts, and I walked down the aisle and I said I do. I was still sitting at the table when Michael walked back in. He didn't look at me. He looked at Rachel. They're not pressing charges, he said. Rachel didn't move. That's not up to them. That's up to Diana. Then I'm asking Diana, he said. He turned to me. Diana. Don't do this. Do what? I said. Don't make this into something it's not. What is it, then? He didn't answer. I looked at my mother. She was watching us with a face I hadn't seen since I was 17, and I'd come home with a broken wrist I'd lied about. The face of a woman who knew more than she was telling. I turned back to Michael. You put a camera in my bedroom. You adjusted it at night. You saved the footage to my phone. You told me it was for a prowler. Now you're telling me not to make this into something. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I knew that look. It was the look he gave me when I'd caught him in a small lie. The lie about the credit card. The lie about the trip he didn't tell me about. The look that said he was calculating. What would I believe? What would I let slide? How far he could push it? The man who adjusted the camera at 11:03 p.m. was the same man who stood in front of me now. I hadn't realized that until this second. Enough is enough, I said again. It sounded different this time. It sounded like a door closing. I walked to the door. I opened it. I held it open. Get out, I said. He didn't move. Get out of my house. This is my house too, he said. Not anymore. He left. Not because I told him to, but because Rachel walked over and stood next to me at the door. She didn't say a word. She just stood there with her badge still in her hand, and Michael looked at her, then at me, and then he picked up his keys from the hook by the kitchen and walked out. The door clicked shut behind him. My mother started crying then. Not loud. Just a small sound, like air coming out of a tire. Diane put her hand on her shoulder. Rachel put the badge back in her pocket. I stood at the door for a long time. I could see his car through the window, a silver Honda CR-V, reversing out of the driveway. The taillights were red and bright, and they stayed in my eyes even after he was gone. I need to go upstairs, I said. Rachel nodded. I'll stay with them. I walked up the stairs. Each step was louder than the one before it. The carpet was gray, the same gray we'd installed when we moved in. I remembered picking it out. I remembered Michael saying, neutral is safe. I remembered agreeing. Emily's door was closed. I could hear her music through the wood. Something with a beat. Something she'd probably told me about, and I'd pretended to remember. I knocked. The music went down. Yeah, I opened the door. She was sitting on her bed with her laptop open. Her headphones were around her neck. She looked at me with her mother's eyes, which is to say, she looked at me with my own eyes. What's wrong? She said. I didn't know what to say. I stood in the doorway and I thought about all the things I'd told her about Michael. About how he was a good stepfather. About how he cared about us. About how we were a family. He's gone, I said. What do you mean? Gone? I mean he left. I told him to leave. She closed the laptop. Why? I sat down on the edge of her bed. The comforter was pink, a shade she'd picked when she was 12 and had refused to let me change. I touched the fabric. It was soft. It had survived 3 years of sleep and soda stains and everything else. He put a camera in my bedroom, I said. Her face didn't change. She was 15. She had learned to hide things. I knew because I'd been 15 once and I'd learned the same way. A camera, she said. Yes. Like a hidden camera. No. It was on the nightstand. He said it was for safety. He said there was a prowler. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Did he put one in my room?" The question hit me like a slap. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of anything except myself and my bedroom and the footage. "I don't know," I said. She stood up. She walked to her closet and opened the door. She had a small bookshelf in there, the kind you buy at IKEA and assemble with an Allen wrench. She moved a few books. She checked behind them. She looked up at the ceiling. She pulled a chair from her desk and stepped onto it and ran her hand along the top of the closet door frame. "Nothing." She looked at me. "I don't think there's one in here." "Thank God," I said. But the words felt hollow. She got down from the chair. She stood in front of me. She was taller than me now, an inch maybe two, and I realized I hadn't noticed when it happened. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know yet." "He's not coming back, no." "Good." She said it so fast. So flat. Like she'd been waiting to say it for a long time. "Emily," I said. "He never liked me," she said. "He just pretended." "He didn't." "He did. He never looked at me the way he looked at you. He looked at me like I was furniture." I didn't have a response to that. I sat on her bed and looked at my hands. They were clean. They were the same hands that had used the remote to turn off the TV. They were the same hands that had picked up the fork and eaten cold chicken while everything around me was falling apart. "Can I stay with you tonight?" she asked. Of course. She got into bed. I got into bed next to her. She was warm and she smelled like the coconut shampoo she used, and I remembered holding her when she was 2, and I thought I knew what love was. I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark and I listened to her breathing, and I thought about Michael. I thought about the camera. I thought about the way he'd adjusted it. Patient. Methodical. Precise. Like he'd done it before. I got up at 4 in the morning. The house was silent. I walked to my bedroom and I stood in front of the nightstand. The camera was still there. White plastic dome. Shot glass size. I picked it up. It was light. Cheap. I turned it over in my hand. I didn't throw it away. I put it in my dresser drawer, and I closed the drawer, and I walked back to Emily's room, and I lay down next to her. At 7, I got up. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table, and I thought about what to do next. My mother came down first. She looked older than she had yesterday, and I knew she'd been up all night. She didn't say anything. She poured herself a cup of coffee and sat across from me. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what? For not seeing it." "For not seeing him. You couldn't have seen it. I'm your mother. I should have seen it. You saw a man who mowed the lawn and opened the wine and showed up for family dinner. That's all he showed anyone." She nodded. She didn't look convinced. She stirred her coffee for a long time. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Same question everyone keeps asking. You need to answer it." "I know." The front door opened. I tensed. But it was Diane and Rachel. They'd driven home and come back. Rachel had a bag of bagels. Diane had a pot of coffee. "Oh, we thought you might need breakfast," Diane said. "Thank you," I said. The words felt inadequate. We ate in silence. Bagels and cream cheese and coffee. The kitchen was warm, but I was cold. I couldn't stop thinking about Michael. "I need to go to his office," I said. Rachel put her bagel down. "Why? I need to know who he's been talking to." "Diana, that's not a good idea." "I know it's not a good idea. I'm going anyway." She looked at me. "Then I'm coming with you." We left at 9. Rachel drove. I sat in the passenger seat and I didn't say anything. I watched the houses go by. The same houses I'd driven past 1,000 times. The same streets. The same traffic. The office was a beige building in an office park. Michael had worked there for 28 years. He'd started as a claims assistant and worked his way up to senior adjuster. He'd told me the story 100 times. I'd listened 100 times. I'd thought it was charming. I walked in. Rachel followed. The receptionist looked up. She was young, maybe 24, and she had a name tag that said Amber. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm looking for Helen," I said. Helen was Michael's coworker. She'd been at the company for 15 years. I'd met her at the Christmas party in 2018. She had a laugh like a smoke alarm, and she'd told me Michael was the most reliable man she knew. I hadn't known her name until that second. "Sure," Amber said. "I'll get her for you." Helen came out a minute later. She looked different in the daylight. Older. More tired. She saw me and her face changed. It was the face of someone who knew something I didn't. Diana, she said. What are you doing here? I need to ask you something. Okay. She led us to a small conference room. The walls were beige, the same beige as the outside. There was a table with a fake plant in the middle. She closed the door. What's going on? She asked. I found a camera in my bedroom. Michael installed it. He said it was for safety. Helen's face went white. Oh, God. Did you know? No, she said. I didn't know. But you knew something. She didn't answer. She looked at the floor. She looked at her hands. Helen, I said. Just tell me. Claire, she said. The word was small. A whisper. Who's Claire? She works here. Claims assistant. She's been here for about 2 years. What about her? Helen looked up. Her eyes were wet. Michael's been spending a lot of time with her. Lunches. Coffee breaks. They stay late sometimes. I didn't think much of it at first. He's always been social. But then he started talking about you. Talking about me, how, saying you were going through something. That you were having a hard time. That he was worried about you. I sat down. The chair was hard and plastic, and it made a sound when I hit it. Did he tell her about me? Did he show her anything? Helen looked away. That was the answer. What did he show her? She still didn't answer. I felt Rachel's hand on my shoulder. I didn't know when she'd moved. Helen, I said. What did he show her? He showed her the footage. He said you were acting erratically. He said he was documenting it. For your protection. The room was cold. I knew it was cold because I could feel the air on my face. But I didn't feel it. I felt nothing. Thank you, I said. I stood up. I walked out. Rachel followed me. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. We got in the car. She started the engine. She looked at me. Where to? Home, I said. I didn't say anything else on the drive. I sat in the passenger seat and I thought about the footage. I thought about Michael showing it to Claire. I thought about Claire watching me get dressed. Watching me sleep. Watching me not know. I thought about the camera. The white plastic dome. The shot glass size. The way he'd adjusted it. He was building a door. He was building a door, and he was making me the person who walked out of it. When I got home, I went straight to the study. Michael's study. The room he'd claimed when we moved in because he needed a space to think. I'd never questioned it. I'd never gone in there without knocking. I'd never opened the drawers or looked in the filing cabinet. I opened the filing cabinet now. The top drawer was full of insurance paperwork. Claims forms and policy documents and old receipts. I pulled everything out and spread it on the floor. Rachel stood in the doorway. She didn't say anything. She watched. The second drawer was the same. More paperwork. More forms. A folder labeled Car Insurance 2020 to 2023. A folder labeled Home Warranty. A folder labeled Tax Returns. I opened the tax returns folder. It had copies of our joint returns going back to 2017. I flipped through them. Nothing unusual. The same income. The same deductions. I opened the next folder. It said Personal. I'd never seen it before. Inside was a bank statement from an account I didn't recognize. The name on the account was Michael R. Henderson. The address was our address. The balance was $43,000. I sat down on the floor. I held the statement in my hands and I read it. Deposits every month. Small amounts. 200 here. 300 there. None of them from his paycheck. All of them transferred from our joint account in amounts he'd thought I wouldn't notice. What is it? Rachel asked. An account, I said. He had an account I didn't know about. How much? 43,000. She came into the room. She knelt down next to me. She read over my shoulder. She didn't say anything for a long time. Diana, she said finally. That's a lot of money. I know. Where did it come from? Our joint account. He transferred it in small amounts. I never noticed. He was planning something. I nodded. I couldn't speak. I looked at the statement and I thought about all the times I'd asked him about money. All the times I'd said we should save more. All the times he'd said we were fine. He was building a door. He was building a door and he was getting ready to walk through it. How long has he been doing this? Rachel asked. I looked at the date on the statement. The first transfer was from 18 months ago. 18 months. That was when Claire started. I did the math in my head. It fit. He was leaving, I said. He was going to leave me and take the money and make me look like the bad one. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Then we need to get you a lawyer. I looked up at her. Her face was calm. The face of someone who had seen worse. I don't have a lawyer, I said. You're going to get one. I nodded. I stood up. I took the bank statement and I put it in my purse. I closed the filing cabinet and I walked out of the study. Emily was standing in the hallway. She'd come down from her room. What's going on? She asked. Your stepfather had a separate bank account, I said. I didn't know about it. She looked at me. Then she looked at Rachel. Then she said, that's why he's been different. I looked at her. What do you mean he's been on his phone more? He'd leave the room to take calls. He never did that before. How long? A few months. Maybe longer. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I thought about all the times I'd been in the same room as Michael and he'd been on his phone. I thought about all the times I hadn't asked who he was talking to. Emily, I said. Did he ever say anything to you about me, about him leaving? She shook her head. He just said you were stressed. He said I should be nice to you. Nice to me. Yeah, like I was the one who needed to fix something. I hugged her. She hugged me back. She was warm and solid, and I could feel her heart beating. I'm going to handle this, I said. I know, she said. But she didn't sound sure. I called a lawyer at noon. Her name was Margaret Chen. She was recommended by a woman I knew from a real estate deal. She specialized in high net worth divorce cases. I didn't have high net worth, but I had a husband with a secret bank account and a camera in my bedroom. She met me at her office at 2. The office was on the 12th floor of a building downtown. The view was of the river. I sat in a leather chair, and she sat across from me in a leather chair, and she looked at me like she'd seen 1,000 women like me. Start from the beginning, she said. I told her everything. The camera. The footage. The dinner. The badge. The bank account. Claire. The footage Michael had shown Claire. When I finished, she leaned back. She didn't look surprised. She looked like someone who had heard worse. The camera is illegal in most states, she said. He didn't have your consent. Even if he said it was for safety, it was a hidden recording device in a private space. That's a violation. I don't want to press charges, I said. You might not have a choice. Your cousin is a cop. If she reported it, there's already a record. Rachel didn't file anything. She might have to. It's her job. I'll talk to her. She nodded. The bank account is more complicated. He transferred money from a joint account into a separate account without your knowledge. That's fraudulent. We can recover it. How will we file for an order to freeze the assets? We subpoena the bank records. We show the pattern of transfers. He'll have to explain them. And if he can't, then you get the money. I looked out the window. The river was gray. The sky was gray. The whole world looked gray. What about Claire? I asked. She's irrelevant to the legal case. But she's relevant to the story. The story. Yes. The story you're going to tell. If you want people to understand what happened, you need to tell them. I don't want to tell anyone. You might have to. If you want to protect yourself. I looked at her. Protect myself from what? From him. He's already been telling people you're unstable. He's been documenting you. He's been showing footage to his coworker. He's building a case. You need to build your own. I don't want to destroy him. It's not about destroying him. It's about making sure he can't destroy you. I sat in the chair for a long time. I thought about the camera. I thought about the bank account. I thought about Claire. I thought about the footage he'd shown her. Fine, I said. Tell me what to do. She told me. She gave me a list. Freeze the assets. Get a forensic accountant. Get a restraining order. File for divorce. Document everything. Don't talk to Michael. Don't let him back in the house. I took the list. I thanked her. I walked out. Rachel was waiting in the lobby. She stood up when she saw me. How did it go? She asked. She gave me a list. What's on it? A lot of things. We walked out together. The air was cold. The wind was blowing. I pulled my coat tighter. Where to now? She asked. Home, I said. I need to get the footage. The footage, I need to put it somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't get to it. She nodded. She understood. We drove back. The house was the same. The same gray carpet. The same beige walls. The same smell. I went in my bedroom. I opened the dresser drawer. The camera was still there. White plastic dome. Shot glass size. I picked it up. I turned it over in my hands. I thought about all the times I'd slept in that room. All the times I'd changed in that room. All the times I'd been alone in that room and thought I was safe. He was watching. He was watching me, and he was showing someone else. I took the camera to the kitchen. I put it on the counter. I pulled out my phone and I opened the app. I watched the footage again. Michael adjusting the camera. Wiping his glasses. That little cough. I scrolled through the other clips. There was one from 2 nights before. Me in my pajamas. Reading a book. I didn't remember reading a book. I must have been trying to sleep. There was one from last week. Me getting out of the shower. I was wrapped in a towel. I didn't know the camera was on. I didn't know anything. I put my phone down. I sat at the kitchen table. Emily came in. She sat across from me. Are you okay? She asked. No, I said. I'm not. Do you want me to stay? Yes. She stayed. She sat with me in silence. It was the most she'd ever given me. At 6, my mother came. She had dinner. Lasagna. The same lasagna I'd burned on Michael's birthday. She put it on the table and we ate. The lasagna was good. I ate 3 pieces. At 8, Diane came. She brought wine. I didn't drink. I sat at the table and watched them talk. They were talking about Michael. About what he'd done. About what he was going to do. He's not coming back here, Diane said. I'll make sure of it. You can't make sure of it, I said. It's still his house. Not for long. What do you mean? I mean you're going to keep it. You're going to keep the house and the money and everything else. You're going to make sure he doesn't get anything. I looked at her. She was angry. I'd never seen her angry before. I don't know if I want to keep it, I said. Then you're going to sell it. Maybe. Not maybe. You're going to do something. You're not going to just sit here. I looked at my mother. She was watching me with the same face from last night. The face that knew more than she was telling. Mom, I said. What do you think? She put her fork down. She looked at me. She said, I think you need to decide who you want to be. I don't know who I want to be. Then figure it out. It was the most direct thing she'd ever said to me. I looked at her. I looked at Diane. I looked at Emily. 3 generations of women sitting around a table. I thought about Michael. About the camera. About the bank account. About Claire. About the footage he'd shown her. He wanted me to be someone else. He wanted me to be the victim. He wanted me to be the person who walked out of the room because she couldn't take it anymore. But I wasn't that person. I was the person who walked in the room. That was when I knew. I spent the next morning on the phone. First with the forensic accountant Margaret had recommended. Her name was Linda, and she had a voice like gravel, and she said, I'll have a full report by Friday. I gave her the bank statement and the joint account numbers, and she said, this is going to take time. I said, I have time. Then I called the locksmith. He came at 11. He changed every lock in the house. Front door. Back door. Sliding glass door. Garage door. I watched him do it. He was a man in his 60s with a beard and a tool belt, and he didn't ask questions. When he was done, he handed me the keys. There were 7 of them. I put them on the counter. Then I called Michael. I didn't want to. I did it anyway. He answered on the second ring. Diana. I changed the locks, I said. Don't come back. You can't do that. I just did. You're going to regret this. I already regret 9 years of it. This part 1, don't regret. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I want to talk to Emily. No. She's my daughter. She's not your daughter. You were her stepfather. There's a difference. She's going to hear from me eventually. Maybe. But not today. I hung up. My hand was shaking. I put the phone down and I looked at it like it was someone else's. Emily came downstairs. She had her backpack on. She was going to school. I'd almost forgotten it was a school day. Can I still go? She asked. Of course. What about Michael? Is he going to show up there? No. I'll make sure he doesn't. How? I'm getting a restraining order. He can't come within 100 yards of you. She nodded. She looked tired. I wanted to hug her, but she was already at the door. I'll be home at 3, she said. I'll be here. She left. The door closed. The lock clicked. I stood in the hallway and listened to the silence. It was the first time I'd been alone in the house since the dinner. I didn't know what to do with myself. I walked to my bedroom. The camera was still on the counter. I picked it up. I looked at it. I thought about all the footage I hadn't watched. All the footage I was afraid to watch. I opened the app again. I scrolled through the timeline. I saw myself. Days and nights. Getting dressed. Sleeping. Reading. Crying. There was a clip of me crying. I didn't remember crying. I must have been crying about something Michael had said. Something that had seemed small at the time but felt big now. I watched it. I watched myself sit on the edge of the bed and put my face in my hands and cry. I didn't know why I was crying. I couldn't remember. I closed the app. I put the phone down. I went to the kitchen and I made coffee and I sat at the table. The doorbell rang at noon. I went to the door. I looked through the peephole. It was a woman. Mid-30s. Dark hair. She was holding a manila envelope. I opened the door. "Can I help you? Are you Diana?" she asked. "Yes. My name is Claire. I work with Michael." I felt the air leave my lungs. I looked at her. She was smaller than I expected. Shorter. Thinner. She had pale skin and dark eyes and she looked scared. "What do you want?" I said. "Can I come in?" "No." She looked at the ground. She looked at the envelope in her hands. She held it out to me. "I wanted to give you this," she said. I took it. I didn't open it. "What is it?" "Everything he told me. Everything he showed me. I made copies." I looked at her. "Why?" "Because I didn't know," she said. "I didn't know about the camera until yesterday. I thought he was just going through a difficult time. I thought he was being honest with me. But when Helen told me what happened at dinner, I realized he'd been lying. To you. To me. To everyone." "So you came here?" "Yes. To give me this." "Yes." I looked at the envelope. I looked at her. She was trembling slightly. I didn't know if it was cold or fear or guilt. "I don't know what to say," I said. "You don't have to say anything. I just thought you should know." She paused. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he had a camera. I didn't know he was watching you. I thought the footage was from a security system. I thought it was about you being sick." "Being sick?" "He said you were having a breakdown. He said he was worried about you. He said he was documenting it in case he needed to get you help." I leaned against the doorframe. "He told you I was sick?" "Yes." "Did you believe him?" She didn't answer. That was the answer. "Thank you," I said. "For the envelope." "You're welcome." She turned and walked away. I watched her get into a small blue car. She sat in the driver's seat for a moment. Then she drove away. I closed the door. I locked it. I went to the kitchen and I sat down and I opened the envelope. Inside was a stack of papers. Emails. Text messages. Screenshots. I read them one by one. The first email was from Michael to Claire. It was dated 6 months ago. It said, "I'm going through something difficult at home. My wife hasn't been herself. I'm trying to help her, but it's hard." The second was from Claire to Michael. "I'm sorry you're going through this. Is there anything I can do?" The third was from Michael to Claire. "Just being able to talk to you helps. You're the only one who understands." There were dozens of them. A pattern. Michael complaining about me. Michael painting himself as the long-suffering husband. Michael making himself the victim. I kept reading. The texts were worse. Some of them were about Emily. "My stepdaughter is acting out. I think it's because of her mother. Emily has been difficult lately. I don't know what to do. She's not my kid, but I try. Sometimes it's not enough." I put the papers down. I felt sick. The last thing in the envelope was a screenshot. It was from Michael's phone. A text conversation between him and someone named Helen. The conversation was from 3 days before the dinner. "Helen, I saw Claire's car in the parking lot at 7. Are you okay, Michael?" "I'm fine. We were just talking." "Helen, you've been talking a lot." "Michael, she helps me cope." "Helen, cope with what?" "Michael, you know what. Diana is getting worse." I sat at the table and I stared at the words. Getting worse. He'd been telling people I was getting worse. He'd been building a case. He'd been making sure that when he left, everyone would believe it was my fault. I picked up my phone. I called Margaret. "I need to see you again," I said. Today. She agreed. I drove to her office. The traffic was bad. I sat in my car and I thought about the emails and the texts and the screenshots. When I got to her office, she was waiting. She had a bottle of water on her desk. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said. I've seen something worse. I put the envelope on her desk. She opened it. She read. She didn't say anything for a long time. This is good, she said finally. Good, yes. This proves he was building a narrative. He was telling people you were unstable. He was doing it to justify his actions. He was going to leave me. Yes. And he was going to make it look like I was the one who fell apart. Yes. I sat in the chair. The same leather chair from yesterday. What do I do now? I asked. Now you file. You file for divorce. You freeze the accounts. You get the restraining order. And you send him a copy of everything. Let him know you know. And then you wait. And you let the law do its work. I nodded. I didn't feel anything. I felt empty. I'm going to do it, I said. She nodded. She started the paperwork. By the time I left, it was 4. I drove home. Emily was there. She was sitting on the couch. She had a bowl of cereal and she was watching TV. How was school? I asked. Fine. Did anything happen? Some kids asked about Michael. I said he was gone. What did you say? I said he was gone and I was glad. She looked at me. Was that okay? Yeah, I said. That was okay. I sat down next to her. She leaned into me. I put my arm around her. We sat like that for a long time. The phone rang at 7. I answered. It was Michael. You got the papers, I said. Yes. Good. You don't have to do this, he said. Yes, I do. I can explain everything. The account. The camera. Claire. It's not what you think. What is it? Then he was quiet. Then he said, I was scared. Scared of what? Scared of losing you. Scared of being stuck. Scared of getting old. None of that explains the camera. I was trying to understand you. I was trying to figure out why you were so distant. I laughed. It was a hollow sound. You didn't understand me, so you installed a camera. That's your excuse. I know it sounds bad. It sounds bad because it is bad. Diana, please. Just give me a chance to explain. I don't want to hear your explanation. I've heard enough. He was quiet again. I could hear him breathing. I thought about all the times I'd sat across from him at the dinner table. All the times I'd believed him. All the times I'd thought he was on my side. Where are you staying? I asked. A hotel. The one on Elm. Good. Stay there. Don't come here. You can't keep me from my house. I can. I will. The locks are changed. The lawyers got the paperwork. You're not coming back. Diana, I hung up. I stood in the kitchen and I looked at the phone. It was a small device. It had no power over me. Emily came in. She looked at me. She didn't say anything. She just stood there. Are you okay? She asked. No, I said. I'm not. Do you want to talk about it? Not right now. She nodded. She went back to the couch. I sat at the table. I thought about Michael. I thought about the camera. I thought about Claire. I thought about the bank account. And I thought about what I was going to do next. That's when I realized I didn't have to do anything next. I could just sit. I could just wait. He was the one who was waiting. He was the one who was wondering what I was going to do. That was enough. That was everything. The next morning I woke up and didn't know where I was. For a second I thought I was in a hotel. Then I saw Emily's bookshelf and I remembered. I got up. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table and I looked at the stack of papers from Claire's envelope. I'd left them there overnight. They seemed smaller in the daylight. Less like weapons and more like receipts. I called Rachel. She answered on the first ring. Can you come over? I said. On my way. She was there in 20 minutes. She looked like she hadn't slept. She had coffee in a travel mug, and she put it on my counter like she lived there. What do you need? She said. I need you to look at something. I showed her the papers. She read them. She didn't say anything for a long time. This is evidence, she said finally. I know. You can use this. I know. Then why do you look like you're going to throw up? I sat down. She sat across from me. I looked at her badge. It was in her pocket, visible. Because I have to do something with it, I said. And whatever I do, it changes everything. You already changed everything. When you plugged that phone into the TV. The rest is just details. Feels like details are the thing that kills you. She nodded. She understood. I made her an omelet. I ate one too. We sat at the table and ate, and I told her what I was thinking. I want to post the footage, I said. She put her fork down. On what? Social media. I don't want to go to the police. I don't want to press charges. I just want people to see it. Why? Because he's been telling people I'm crazy. He's been building a case. I need to show them what he was really doing. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, that's going to get messy. I know. Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I know. And he's going to fight back. He's going to say you made it up. He's going to say you were in on it. He's going to say anything. He's been saying things for months. I've been quiet. I'm done being quiet. She looked at me. Then she said, you sure know. But I'm doing it anyway. She nodded. She didn't try to talk me out of it. I loved her for that. I spent the morning editing the footage. I didn't show myself. I didn't show the bedroom. I showed Michael. Michael adjusting the camera. Wiping his glasses. That cough. I cut it down to 30 seconds. Clean. Clear. No context needed. I wrote a caption. I rewrote it 8 times. In the end, I wrote, my husband installed this camera in my bedroom. He said it was for safety. This is him adjusting it at 11 p.m. while I wasn't home. He told people I was having a breakdown. He showed the footage to his coworker. I'm posting this because I want everyone to know who they've been listening to. I put my finger on the button. I didn't press it. I called Margaret. She said, I can't advise you to do this. But I understand why you want to. That's not a no. That's not a yes either. I pressed the button. The post went up at noon. I watched the clock. 1 minute. 5. 10. The first comment came in at 12 minutes. Oh my God. Is that your husband? The second. What the hell? The third. Diana, I'm so sorry. My phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then it didn't stop buzzing. I put it down. I walked away from it. Emily came home at 3. She had her headphones on, and she sat down at the table and she opened her laptop. Then she looked at me. Your post has 2,000 shares, she said. I know. She didn't say anything else. She closed her laptop. She came over and sat next to me. Are you okay? She asked. I don't know yet. Michael called me. I sat up. What did he say? He said I should ask you to take the post down. He said I should tell you it's not fair. Did you tell him anything? I told him he shouldn't have put a camera in your room. And what did he say? Nothing. He hung up. I hugged her. She hugged me back. What happens now? She asked. Now we wait. The waiting was the hard part. My phone kept buzzing. People I hadn't talked to in years messaged me. My mother called. Diane called. Helen called. I didn't answer most of them. At 6, Michael called. I answered. You need to take it down, he said. Take what down? The post. The footage. All of it. No. Diana, you're destroying me. You destroyed yourself. I'm going to lose my job. People are going to see this. They're going to think I'm a monster. Then maybe you shouldn't have installed a camera in my bedroom. He was quiet. Then he said, I'm sorry. That's not enough. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything. I want you to sit in your hotel room and think about what you did. And I want you to leave us alone. You can't just I can. I am. Goodbye, Michael. I hung up. I was shaking. I went to the kitchen and I poured a glass of water. I drank it. I poured another. Emily came in. Was that him? Yes. What did he want? The same thing he always wants. For me to make it easier for him. Are you going to know? She nodded. She went to her room. I stayed in the kitchen. I looked at my phone. The post had 8,000 shares. I thought about all the women who were going to see it. All the women who had husbands with cameras. All the women who had been told they were crazy. All the women who had been quiet for too long. I wasn't one of them anymore. I was the one who had spoken. Rachel came over at 8. She had pizza. We ate it at the table. My mother and Diane came too. We all ate pizza and drank the wine Diane had brought. Everyone's talking about it, Diane said. The whole town. I went to the grocery store and 2 people came up to me. What did they say? They said they were sorry. They said they always thought he was too quiet. Too quiet. Too controlled. Like he was always keeping something back. I thought about that. It was true. He'd always been controlled. I'd thought it was discipline. I'd thought it was stability. I'd thought it was love. It was just control. At 10, my mother said, I need to tell you something. We were in the living room. My mother, Diane, Rachel, Emily, and me. 5 women on the couches. My mother was on the armchair. What is it? I said. I knew about Claire. I looked at her. What do you mean? Your aunt told me. She saw Michael with her. At a restaurant. 6 months ago. Diane nodded. I didn't want to tell you. I thought it was nothing. I thought he was just having lunch. You should have told me. I know. I'm sorry. I looked at my mother. And you knew, she nodded. I thought it would blow over. I thought you'd never find out. I didn't want to hurt you. Hurt me. You kept it from me. I thought I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself. You didn't want to deal with it. She didn't deny it. She just sat there. I stood up. I walked to the kitchen. I stood at the sink and I looked out the window. It was dark. I could see my reflection. Emily came in. She stood next to me. It's okay. She said. It's not okay. I know. But we're going to be okay. I looked at her. She was 15. She was the one comforting me. Thank you, I said. She nodded. She stayed with me. I went back to the living room. My mother was still in the armchair. She looked small. I'm not mad at you, I said. I'm just disappointed. I know. All the times I told you everything was fine. All the times I said I was happy. You knew it wasn't true. I thought you were happy. I didn't know. You knew something was wrong. You just didn't want to look at it. She didn't say anything. She knew I was right. I sat back down. I looked at the women in the room. My mother. My aunt. My cousin. My daughter. They were all I had left. And that was enough. The next day, I went to the office. My office. The commercial real estate place. I hadn't been in 3 days. Everyone was quiet. Everyone looked at me like I was someone else. I went to my desk. I sat down. I opened my computer. My boss came in. She was a woman named Margaret. The other Margaret. She closed the door. Diana, she said. I saw the post. Everyone saw the post. What happened, I told her. The camera. The dinner. The footage. The bank account. Claire. All of it. She listened. When I was done, she said, I'm sorry. I don't need sorry. I need my job. You have your job. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm not okay. But I'm getting there. She nodded. She left. I sat at my desk. I looked at the screen. I had 100 emails. Most of them were from people I didn't know. People who had seen the post. People who wanted to tell me they understood. I didn't reply. I just read them. One of them said, I found a camera in my bathroom last year. My husband said it was for the baby monitor. I know what you're going through. Another said, you're brave. I wasn't brave. I stayed. Another said, he told everyone I was crazy too. It's what they do. I sat at my desk and I read them all. And I thought about all the women who were out there. All the women who had cameras in their bedrooms and husbands who said they were crazy. I wasn't alone. I'd never been alone. That's when I knew what I was going to do next. I took the next week off work. Margaret said take as long as you need. I said I'd be back in a week. She said okay. I didn't tell her I had a plan. The plan was simple. I was going to his office. Not to see him. To see his boss. To show him the footage and the emails and the bank statements and let him decide what to do with it. I wasn't suing the company. I didn't want money from them. I just wanted them to know who they had in their building. Rachel drove me. She didn't ask questions. She just drove. The building was the same beige office park. The same parking lot. The same receptionist with the name tag. Amber, I said. I need to see Mr. Thompson. He's not expecting you. I know. I need to call him. Go ahead. She called. She talked quietly. She put the phone down. Mr. Thompson said to send you in. Rachel and I walked down the hall. The same hall I'd walked down with Michael 100 times. The same fake plants. The same beige walls. Mr. Thompson's office was at the end. He was a tall man in his 60s with gray hair and glasses. He stood up when I walked in. Diana, he said. I wasn't expecting you. I know. Have a seat. I sat. Rachel sat next to me. Mr. Thompson looked at her. She's my cousin, I said. She's a cop. He nodded. He looked like he was waiting. I need to show you something, I said. I pulled out my phone. I opened the footage. I handed it to him. He watched. He didn't say anything. He watched Michael adjust the camera, wipe his glasses, cough. What am I watching? He asked. Your employee. My husband. Installing a camera in my bedroom. He said it was for safety. It wasn't. He handed the phone back. I heard about the dinner. Then you know what happened. I know what I've heard. Now you know what you've seen. He leaned back. He looked tired. What do you want from me? I want you to know. That's all. I want you to know what kind of person you have working for you. Diana, Michael has been here for 28 years. He's a good employee. He's reliable. Reliable. Like the camera. That's not fair. Fair is watching him adjust a camera at 11 o'clock at night while I'm asleep. Fair is knowing he showed the footage to another employee. Fair is knowing he was telling everyone I was having a breakdown. He didn't have an answer for that. I'm not asking you to fire him, I said. I'm asking you to know. He nodded. I stood up. Diana, he said. Wait. I turned. I'm sorry, he said. I know. I walked out. Rachel followed. We didn't say anything until we were in the car. That was it, she asked. That was it. You didn't ask for anything. I didn't want anything. She looked at me. She didn't say anything. She started the car. The next stop was the bank. I had the paperwork from Margaret. I had the court order. I walked in, I handed it to the teller, and I watched them freeze the account. It took 15 minutes. When I walked out, I had a receipt that said the balance was now unavailable to anyone except me. I called Margaret. It's done, I said. Good, she said. Now we wait. I went home. Emily was at school. The house was quiet. I sat in the living room and I looked at the walls. They were the same walls I'd lived with for 9 years. I'd painted them beige because Michael said neutral was safe. I started thinking about what I was going to do next. Not the legal stuff. The real stuff. The stuff that was mine. I went to the kitchen and I opened the drawer. The drawer where we kept the takeout menus and the rubber bands and the random things that don't have a place. I found a paint sample. It was from 3 years ago. A color called Silver Sage. I'd wanted to paint the living room. Michael said it was too dark. I'd put the sample back in the drawer. I took it out. I looked at it. I put it on the counter. Then I went to the hardware store. I bought a gallon of Silver Sage and a roller and a drop cloth and a brush. I came home and I moved the furniture and I taped the edges. I painted the living room. It took all afternoon. Emily came home. She looked at the walls. She looked at me. I had paint on my shirt. Silver Sage, she said. You remember? Mom, you've been talking about this color for 3 years. I know. She put her backpack down. She picked up the brush. Move over, she said. We painted together. We painted until it was dark. We didn't talk. We just painted. When we were done, I stood back and looked at the room. It was different. It wasn't beige. It wasn't neutral. It was green. A soft, dark green that I'd wanted for 3 years. I like it, Emily said. I like it too. We sat on the floor. We were tired. We were covered in paint. The windows were open and the air was coming in. Can I ask you something? Emily said. Yeah. Are you going to be okay? I thought about it. I thought about Michael. I thought about the camera. I thought about Claire and the emails and the bank account and the endless beige walls. I don't know yet, I said. But I'm going to be better. She nodded. She leaned into me. I stayed on the floor for a long time. I watched the paint dry. It was slow and steady, and it was changing the room into something that was mine. The phone rang at 9. I picked it up. Hello, Diana. It was Michael. I didn't hang up. I waited. I got fired today, he said. I know. I talked to Mr. Thompson this morning. You did this to me. I showed him the footage. He made his own decision. 28 years. 28 years I worked there. And you took it away. I didn't take anything away. You did that yourself. He was quiet. Then he said, Where are you staying? Where are you staying? I'm staying at the hotel. I can't afford it now. Maybe you should move. I can't move. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem. I'm your husband. Not for much longer. Diana, please. Can we just talk like adults? We've been talking for 9 years. It never changed anything. It could change. I could change. Change. You installed a camera in my bedroom. I was scared. Scared of what? Scared of losing you. You lost me. He didn't say anything. I could hear him breathing. I thought about the hotel room. The one on Elm. The same room he'd been in for a week. I'm coming over, he said. No. I have a key. I changed the locks. You can't keep me out. I can. I will. And if you come near the house, I'm calling Rachel. You wouldn't. Try me. He hung up. I sat in the living room. The paint was still wet. The windows were still open. I could hear the cars on the street. Emily was in her room. She had her headphones on. She was probably listening to the same music she'd been listening to the night of the dinner. I thought about that night. The fork. The badge. The remote. The cold chicken. I was a different person now. I didn't know who yet. But I was different. The phone rang again. It was Rachel. He's calling me, she said. He wants to come to the house. I told him no. He says he has a right. He doesn't. I know. I told him. He didn't listen. Then we'll make him listen. She was quiet. Then she said, I've got a patrol car going by your house tonight. Just in case. Thank you. You don't need to thank me. Your family. I hung up. I sat in the Silver Sage living room. I thought about Michael. I thought about the camera. I thought about the bank account. I thought about Claire and the emails and the beige walls. Then I thought about what was coming next. The conversation. The one I'd been avoiding. The one I knew I had to have. I wasn't ready for it. But I was going to do it anyway. I got up. I went to the kitchen. I made tea. I sat at the table. I was going to tell him everything. All of it. The things he'd done. The things he'd said. The things he'd taken. Not in anger. Just in truth. I was going to make him sit across from me at the table. The same table where he'd cut his chicken into small, even pieces. The same table where my mother had dropped her fork. The same table where I'd eaten cold dinner and let the justice land. I was going to say the words I'd been holding in for 9 years. I was going to say enough is enough. And I was going to mean it. He showed up the next morning. I don't know how he got in. The front door was locked, the back door was locked, but he was standing in the kitchen when I came down the stairs. He had a cup of coffee in his hand. My coffee. My mug. The one that said, World's Okayest Mom. He was holding it and looking at me like he'd just come home from work. Michael, I said. What are you doing here? I used my key. The old one. It still works. That's impossible. Nothing's impossible, Diana. I stood on the bottom step. I didn't move closer. He was in my kitchen, and he was drinking my coffee, and he was wearing the blue button-down. Get out, I said. No. Get out or I'm calling Rachel. Then call her. I didn't move. He knew I wouldn't. Where's Emily? He asked. At school. Good. Why is that good? Because I want to talk to you. Alone. Just us. I walked into the kitchen. Not because I wanted to. Because I wanted to be closer to the phone. Talk, I said. He set the mug down. He put his hands on the counter. He looked at me with the face he used when he was trying to convince me of something. I'm not going to fight you, he said. I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to tell you the truth. The truth. Yes. The truth would be a first. He didn't flinch. You're right. I should have told you the truth a long time ago. So tell it now. He took a breath. He looked down at the counter. Then he looked up. I was leaving, he said. I was planning to leave you. The account was for that. The camera was for that. I was building a case so that when I left, no one would blame me. I know. You know. I've known for a week. He nodded. He didn't look surprised. I'm not going to deny it. I did those things. I installed the camera. I opened the account. I told Claire you were sick. I told everyone you were sick. Why? He didn't answer. That was the answer. Michael, I said. You owe me a reason. You owe me that much. I don't owe you anything. Then get out of my house. He leaned against the counter. He wasn't leaving. I knew he wasn't leaving. I was tired, he said. I was tired of being married to someone who didn't need me. You never needed me, Diana. Not once. You had your job and your daughter and your mother and your aunt and your cousin. You had everyone. You didn't need me. I married you. That was me needing you. No. That was you settling. The words hit me. I didn't expect them to. But they hit. Settling, I said. Yes. I settled for you. Maybe not. But you didn't need me. And I needed to be needed. So you installed a camera. So you could watch me. So you could feel like you were in control. Yes. Because you're a coward. I'm not a coward. Yes, you are. A man who can't tell his wife he's unhappy is a coward. A man who lies and schemes and builds a case is a coward. A man who watches his wife in her own bedroom without her knowledge is a coward. He didn't say anything. He just stood there. The thing is, I said, you could have just left. You could have said, I'm not happy. I'm leaving. You could have walked out the door and we could have figured it out. But that wasn't enough for you. You needed to be the victim. You needed to make everyone think I was the problem. I didn't. You did. You told Claire I was having a breakdown. You showed her the footage. You told my mother and my aunt that I was distant. You built a case and you were going to use it. I was scared. Scared of what? Scared of being the bad guy. Scared of everyone knowing I was the one who left. So you made me the bad guy instead. He didn't deny it. He couldn't. I walked to the table. I sat down. He was still standing in the kitchen. I had the power now. The table was between us. He wasn't close enough to touch me. Let me tell you what's going to happen, I said. I'm going to file for divorce. I'm going to get the house and the money and everything else. You're going to get nothing. Not because I'm cruel, but because you don't deserve anything. You can't do that. I can. I will. The bank account is frozen. The lawyer has the paperwork. Your boss knows who you are. And I have the footage. Diana. I'm done being a room you just walked out of. He stood there. He looked at me. The man I'd married. The man I'd said I do to. The man who'd installed a camera in my bedroom. I'm sorry, he said. That's the first time you've said it. And it doesn't mean anything. It means everything. No, it doesn't. Because you're only saying it because you got caught. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. That's not true. It is true. And we both know it. He walked to the table. He sat down across from me. Same table. Same chairs. Same everything. I want to fix this, he said. There's nothing to fix. It's over. It doesn't have to be. We could try. We could go to counseling. You could have done that before you installed a camera in my bedroom. You could have done that before you opened a secret bank account. You could have done that before you told your coworker I was crazy. But you didn't. You chose this. You chose to make me the villain. So now I'm the villain. And I'm going to be the villain who walks out. You're not a villain. Then why are you trying to make me one? He didn't have an answer. I stood up. I walked to the door. I opened it. Get out, I said. Diana, please. Get out. He didn't move. I picked up my phone. I held it up so he could see it. Get out or I'm calling Rachel. He stood up. He walked to the door. He stopped next to me. Goodbye, Diana, he said. Goodbye, Michael. He walked out. He didn't look back. I closed the door. I locked it. I leaned against it. I was shaking. I was shaking and I was crying. I didn't know why I was crying. But I was. I went to the living room. The silver sage. The walls I'd painted. I sat on the couch and I looked at the room. It was mine. The whole house was mine. The car was mine. The money was mine. But that wasn't the point. The point was that I'd said enough. I'd said it out loud. I'd looked him in the face and I'd told him the truth. And he couldn't undo it. Emily came home at 3. She saw me on the couch. She saw the tears. He came over, I said. What he used an old key. He was in the kitchen. We talked. What happened? I told him it was over. I told him the truth. And he left. She sat down next to me. She didn't say anything. She just Saturday, are you okay? She asked. Not yet. But I'm getting there. She nodded. She leaned into me. How do you feel? She asked. I feel like someone took a weight off my chest. I feel like I can breathe again. That's good. Yeah, I said. It is. We sat there for a long time. We watched the sun go down. We watched the shadows fill the room. At 5, my mother came. She brought lasagna. The same lasagna from the dinner. I ate 3 pieces. Diane came. Rachel came. We ate together in the Silver Sage living room. So what happens now? Diane asked. Now I take care of my family. Now I take care of myself. You're going to be okay, Rachel said. I know. I know you know. But I need to hear you say it. I looked at her. I looked at my mother. I looked at Diane. I looked at Emily. I'm going to be okay, I said. I don't know who I'm going to be yet. But I'm going to be okay. They nodded. They believed me. The dinner was warm. The food was good. The conversation was easy. And I sat there with the women in my life, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt whole. The next morning, I woke up early. I made coffee. I went to the living room. I opened the curtains. The sun was coming in. I sat on the couch, and I looked at the Silver Sage walls. They were the same walls. But they felt different. I picked up my phone. I opened the app. The footage was still there. Michael adjusting the camera. Wiping his glasses. That cough. I watched it one more time. I watched the man I'd married. I watched him adjust the camera. I watched him check his phone. I watched him stand in my bedroom and do the things he'd done. And then I closed the app. I deleted it. The footage was gone. The camera was gone. The whole thing was over. I went to the kitchen. I poured a second cup of coffee. I sat at the table. Emily came down. She looked at me. She looked at the table. She looked at my face. Where's Michael? She asked. Gone. Gone where? I don't know. And I don't care. She nodded. She sat down across from me. Are you going to be okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. I am. She smiled. It was the first smile I'd seen in a week. I smiled back. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to take time. I knew I was going to have days when I didn't feel whole. But I also knew I was done being a room he'd walked out of. I was done being something he'd arranged. I was done being anything except myself. Enough is enough, I said. I didn't say it to anyone. I said it to myself. Emily looked at me. What was that? Nothing, I said. I'm just figuring something out. She nodded. She went to get her cereal. I sat at the table, and I thought about the future. I thought about what I wanted. I thought about who I was going to be. I didn't have all the answers. But I had one thing I hadn't had before. I had the truth. And that was enough. That was everything.